And it was Michael who kind of took me by the arm one day and said, look, we're going to do that book for your father, my dad having passed a few years before, the book, your academic book that you never did. And it's going to be your poems, because Michael was one of the people who did know that I wrote, and to whom I had showed my poetry. And he said, it's going to be your words and my images. And that was what we did. That was our first collaboration. Usually I write, it was my way, has been my way of journaling, personally, and as I said, I didn't show it to very many people. Even when I did, there were people who had known me a long time, and they said, well, I never knew that you wrote. I never knew that you wrote. And it was a very, it has been, as a process, a very wonderful and liberating experience to share moments of your life that are fairly intimate and circumstances that those around you may have known. For example, you know, my finding my son, then the death of my son, a whole series of things, my mother growing old with us and then dying, and then with Michael and other friends even before Michael, traveling and the things that you see, the people whom you meet and experience. So usually I have my writing that I may pull out and show to Michael at some point, and then Michael's artwork, any of those of you who've been to our house know that it's all over the house, and you know, including the bathroom, the kitchen, and life kind of takes place in our kitchen where that photograph is. So that's has been our process. I have lived with the visuals a lot longer than Michael has heard my words. And again, even to the point of my reading and sharing my poetry in that way with friends and people who don't even know you has been something that I have come to fairly recently. Michael, on the other hand, is a very established artist, and he works his magic in, I think, very special ways, combining, as he's done in these images here, images that begin in the studio. This piece right here is when the model usually comes to the house in the kitchen, gets painted with theatrical makeup while watching television, which is sort of a presence in our house. And then everything moves to the back studio, which is the photography studio. And against the back, a white, or sometimes a black, but most recently white backdrop, the model gets photographed doing assorted things. And then it goes into the computer where Michael begins to work on it in Photoshop. And the many, many, many layers that are possible and all the possibilities that are possible in Photoshop is what eventually creates the image. You'll see the botanicals there in the background. That's from my trip to Australia. In particular, we went to almost the center of Australia, to Uluru, known as Ayers Rock. That was the name that the Europeans gave it. They always seem to have to name things that people who've been living there for a long time have had, you know, and known, and have their own words for and names for. So that has been a combination of combining the visuals, sort of a process of photo montage, if you will, or collaging, and then putting certain details together. The vegetation in Australia was something that really drew our attention particularly. And in both of these images, you see that Michael's working with the model, giving the appearance of being more than one person. So you have a crowd, a sense of crowds. Let me read the poem here, Gathering of Women. Gathering of women, women's stories at the waterhole, those that can be told. Clouds linger, tangled with morning light and remnants of moon. Dawn illuminating Uluru, transubstantiation of light to mass. In the damp red sand, find the seconds of the day, imprints of the tracks of insects and birds, of slitherings and small burrowing animals. All that remains of their night of feeding, insinuation of presence. We saw only rocks, crevices, and the stark shadows of cave entrances. They, the beginnings and endings of stories, and signifying marks and spaces. However did the stolen children hold fast to their dreaming? How did they recall and claim their dream time denied? And following it with the poem that accompanies this one, this was the first image that Michael did of the Australia series. We have a portfolio of these images that we're calling First Fruits. Dreaming memories where twilight spills into darkness and dawns at Uluru in all the places of which I shall tell you now. Where yesterdays and tomorrows are half moons clinging to clouds and midnight lights consuming shadows. There, where you shall listen to my stories, those places where forever ripens into dawn, conjuring memories of morning light on hard red rock that is forever how things came to be. We have been our yesterdays and our tomorrows on red sand, cold and familiar to bare feet. We have been red dawns, soft and deep as dreaming. And you will listen to our stories of how things came to be and are. Thank you. I'm going to pass the mic to Michael now.